And the big focus at this moment, it's judgment day finally for N Srinivasan. The Supreme Court is expected to give their final verdict on the IPL betting and fixing scandal. Will Srinivasan be allowed to contest the BCCI elections? What about his franchisee, the Chennai Super Kings?
It's judgment day for N Srinivasan. The BCCI's under-attack chief's fate has been hanging by a thread all this while. Now we'll finally know his future. The Supreme Court will pronounce its verdict on the IPL fixing mess on Thursday, and the focus is all on one point. Can Srinivasan contest the much-delayed BCCI elections? The Honourable Court had postponed BCCI's AGM to the end of this month. This was to seek more clarification if Srini, who's under the scanner for his conflict of interest, can stand for the BCCI top post again. But the drama won't end here. The Supreme Court could even pass an order on Srinivasan's IPL franchise, the Chennai Super Kings. That's not all. There could also be a verdict on the other three named in the Mudgal panel report. Srini's son-in-law, Gurunath Mayappan's alleged involvement with bettors could land the franchise and him in trouble. The fate of Raj Kundra and IPL COO Sundar Raman could also be sealed. The biggest of them all though, will the Supreme Court reveal individual 2 to individual 10 named in the report? These are the players whose names cropped up in the report. And finally, reports suggest that due to lack of evidence on many points, the Supreme Court could announce a new probe committee to take the matter forward. So after days of hearings and adjournments, an order could finally be passed. If nothing else, one thing is guaranteed. BCCI's AGM issue will be settled. That means we will have one answer. If Srinivasan can make a shock comeback to the BCCI or not. Sports Bureau headlines today.
So it's going to be a big day for N Srinivasan as well as the BCCI. Remember, it's been a long-standing battle. It's something that has reached the highest court of the country, the Supreme Court. What really is the Supreme Court going to observe? We will in fact go across to Rasesh Mandani joining us from Mumbai. And in a short moment from now, we'll also have Headlines Today representatives from the Supreme Court as well as our panel of guests. Let's figure out if we have Rasesh with us live or not. Rasesh, can you hear me? All right, Rasesh, very good morning to you. Just take us through what really is the BCCI strategy. What has the BCCI been presenting as far as its view is concerned in the Supreme Court?
Yes, I think people in the BCCI are eagerly awaiting this order. It's taken about 18 months for the judges to reserve the order, and now we're expecting some sort of finality, an interim order that would have implications on Indian cricket. I think there are 3 or 4 interested parties here, and why this order is so important for Indian cricket. What happens to the BCCI, what happens to N Srinivasan, and the 2 franchises in question, Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals. I think this is something that would be which observers would be looking at very closely. Of course, this order will pave the way for the BCCI elections to happen, which are generally scheduled in the end of September. They have been postponed. Whether Srinivasan will be allowed to contest that elections, that is something that will be looked at. During the course of the proceeding, the Supreme Court had observed that heavens would not fall if an BCCI official doesn't own an IPL team. They had also asked Srinivasan to, at one instance which is observed, to choose between Chennai Super Kings and the BCCI. Will the order lean towards that on the basis of the evidence available? I think that is something that the people would be looking at. We will be looking at very closely. If that choice is offered to Srinivasan, if he is asked to choose between CSK and BCCI, it's very well possible that India Cement may have to relinquish its hold over Chennai Super Kings. A change of owners perhaps for the Chennai Super Kings. That would be a massive development. What could also be worse from the franchise's point of view, if the judges observe, if the judges conclude that the franchises in question have tarnished the reputation of the league, in which case there's a provision in the IPL bylaws that franchises could be suspended.
Rasesh, the point is very simple. Yeah. Rasesh, the point is very simple. There are 2 or 3 people and certain organizations whose fate hangs in balance, and that will be decided today by the Supreme Court. That's what the story boils down to. Can you just take us one by one, who is going to watch this particular order very closely? Whose life is going to be affected?
Yes, Essentially, I think the center figure of the whole case is Mr. N Srinivasan. He's currently the man who's most powerful in World Cricket Administration. He's not just the BCCI president in exile, but also the chairman of the ICC. And whether he'll be allowed to keep his hold directly over the BCCI, retain his hold, is something that the cricket observers around the world would be looking at very closely. There are, of course, certain subplots to this as well. Someone like Sundar Raman, who happens to be the CEO of the IPL, is also very important figure. He's someone who's been executing all the decisions that have been made by the BCCI, not just at the IPL, also at the BCCI, and we are told also within the ICC since the time Srinivasan's taken over as the chairman of the ICC. Now, Justice Mudgal Committee had concluded, one of the inferences was that he was also indulged in a misdemeanor of not looking at some of the misdemeanors closely. One of the observations that the Supreme Court made against Sundar Raman was whether he was just acting as a spectator and not acting upon the betting instances of the owners that came to light. So, how would they, what call they would take on that? I think that is something that all the franchises in the IPL would be looking at very closely, because Sundar Raman's been the man who's been taking all the important decisions in the IPL. And of course, importantly, the two franchises. If the apex court of the land observes that the franchises need to be dismissed on the basis of the fact that they've tarnished the reputation of the league, if the order leans towards that, now that is a massive development as well. That's unlikely, but again, we can't preempt orders. So, that's something that people would be looking at closely. So I think four characters, So I think four essentially the characters that are most pertinently important and whose implication of the order would be most crucial. The BCCI, Srinivasan, if he'll be allowed to continue his reign as a BCCI president, the two franchises in question, and someone like a Sundar Raman, who's been a central figure in the entire operations as well.
Rasesh Mandani getting us all the latest. Thanks very much, Rasesh. And also, we will get you all the latest from the Supreme Court. We here at Headlines Today, as Rasesh mentioned, we are not second-guessing the court, because that is not something which is good journalism. So we are, in fact, waiting for the order of the Supreme Court, what the Supreme Court is actually going to say. But this can be said without a doubt that the fate of a lot of parties hangs in balance.